What's up, everybody? Welcome to Among the Fins. My name is Aaron. For those of you who don't know, the name of this channel comes from a Coheed and Cambria lyric. And to treat myself every year, being one of my favorite bands, I decided that on my birthday, I would do a review on one of their albums, moving in chronological order. This year, my birthday comes at the end of November. It ended up getting away from me with Thanksgiving and a bunch of other stuff happening around that time. It just didn't happen. Instead of waiting for a whole nother year, I decided I would just start the year off right instead, and I would do my review now, first of the year. So today we're checking out the third studio album from Coheed and Cambria titled Good Apollo, A Burning Star 4, From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. It is quite a title. It's usually shortened down to Good Apollo or just 4 because the album cover just has the Roman numerals for 4. This record came out in 2005 after they gave us one of the best albums of all time in Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. And it follows the same comic storyline written by singer and guitarist Claudio Sanchez titled The Amory Wars. If you have no idea what I'm talking about whatsoever, I will leave a link down below for the other 2 videos I did a review on. Their first album, Second Stage, Turbine Blade, and also Keeping Secrets, where it goes into basically like the beginning of the story and the middle of the story, and now it's kind of the end, but not really quite. It's just the end of like the comic book series that you could buy. And the story takes kind of a weird turn in this album as Claudio Sanchez kind of writes himself into the story as a character named Writer, or he's the writer. He's already in the story in the sense of the Amory Wars, or I guess the Coheed and Cambria story. He's Claudio Kilgammon. But now he has written himself in as the actual writer of this story, and he is clearly losing his mind in the story. He has a conversation with his bicycle about his unfaithful lover, and he decides in order to solve all of his problems, he has to kill off Ambelina, the love interest of Claudio in Coheed and Cambria, his love interest in the story. That's the only way how he could really end the comic. The album opens up with the song Keeping the Blade, which is an instrumental reimagining of the opening track of the first 2 albums, and it takes its name from those albums as well. Second Stage, Turbine Blade, and Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. It flows directly into the song Always and Never, which is a kind of creepy acoustic piece with like child voices in the background. It makes it sound almost like a lullaby, but then as he sings I'm still waiting here to kill all of you, it reveals it has a much darker kind of tone to it. And it's also something that Claudio and also Ryder scream out in the comics. This is followed by the song Welcome Home, which is probably the most popular, most well-known song that Coheed and Cambria has ever written. The opening line is basically Ryder talking to his girlfriend Erica, and he has found out that she's cheated on him, and he throws her into a grave that he's dug. This is accompanied by one of the most epic intros. The arrangement in the song is so freaking good. Tons of squeals, the harmonies are haunting, and the main riff is very simple yet very powerful, and the chorus is some kind of peaceful moments, yet also they really dark in tone and just lyrical content in general, as Ryder is kind of blurring the lines between the story he's written about the Amory Wars, about Claudio and Coheed and Cambria and everything that's going on there, in real life. And he's starting to view himself as God, and he is now choosing to end their love. And since he is mixing reality with the comic that he's been writing, he thinks that Erica leaving him will mess up the universe of the Amory Wars, so it's up to him to leave her, I guess. The lyrics are super creative in this song, and they're very poetic, and the song takes another kind of weird turn as it goes into the bridge. It becomes very lighthearted and kind of upbeat, followed by a 2-minute long guitar solo that reminds me of something that like an 80s band would have written. Again, a lot of squeals. It's super epic. It's just super, it's heavy, and it sounds so freaking good. Then we have the song 10 Speed, where things continue to get weirder and weirder. Ryder's bike has been stolen from him, and it reappears, and it seems to have been possessed, and it's pretty wild. It's very demonic. Like, it's got flames everywhere. It's got like devil horns, and it's very aggressive in how it speaks to him. It's not a very friendly bike at this point. The bike convinces him that the only way he will be happy is if he kills off Ambelina, which is Claudio's love interest in the Amory Wars. And again, he views himself as God, so he decides to enter himself into the story and go into the universe and breach the gap between reality and his own imagination and kill off Ambelina himself. I mean, there's only one way to make sure it's done and done right. And the main melody in this song definitely feels like he's spiraling in the verses, and the chorus is the dialogue from the conversation between him and the Pike. And honestly, it definitely sounds like he's just talking to himself. The bridge builds into this spoken word section where Ryder is now realizing that he's talking to a bicycle, and it's very weird that the bicycle is responding back to him. And then we move on to the next song where we finally join the actual Amory Wars, the story that we've been following this entire time, with the song Crossing the Frame, where Claudio is still dealing with his choices to break up with his ex-girlfriend Nuo, who's still on Earth, and he has gone on this adventure to run away, basically, and he is full of resolve at this point. The verse is pretty similar to like their older kind of punk style, more progressive melodies that they used to write. The chorus continues with big choruses, of course, but it really wins you over, at least for me, with the vocal performances. Claudio sounds so freaking good in this song. In the bridge, is very reminiscent of their old style. It will remind you of home if you enjoyed their first album, Second Stage Turbine Blade. Then we have the song Apollo 1, The Writing Writer, which is one of my favorite songs off of this entire album because one of the lines in the chorus is taken straight from the comic. It's the name of the album, and it's just so badass. Apollo is actually the name of Nuo's dog, and Claudio, who has powers and he could kind of transform himself and take himself to different parts of the universe at will, and he's kind of like transparenty hologram. I can't really remember the name of it, but you can't touch him or really see him, but he's basically hanging outside of his ex-girlfriend's house, Nuo, talking to the dog, going over all of his regrets and all the mistakes he's made and telling his stories to the dog. And Apollo is very much listening to him, and while he's doing this, he starts to realize and connect some dots that he has been lied to, and he has powers and he can fight back, and he's no longer going to let the villain get away with this. So he decides that he needs to go to the heart of the universe, which is Star 4, where the villain is at, and he needs to fight him and kick his ass. And he's so pissed off, and his powers are starting to bloom a little bit more. And as he realizes this, he gets up and he starts to walk away, and Apollo, like a good boy, starts following him. And Claudio turns around and he says, "Stay." And Apollo stops and sits down. And he says, "Good, Apollo. I'm burning Star 4." And with that said, this song is so lighthearted. You would never guess the intensity of the conversation and where the lyrics come from, which to me makes it even better once you find out. The verse is very bass heavy with kind of an awkward groove and some cool sci-fi sounds, and the chorus is full of wahs, and the melody is super catchy and it's easily stuck in your head. The bridge has another spoken word part where Inferno, who's Claudio's uncle, is talking to his children, Sizer and Chase, and letting them know that he's very sorry that he didn't love them more and treat them better as a father. And I just love that there's no like giant moments in this song. It's super chill. It's easy overlooked. I didn't enjoy it all that much the first time I listened to it, but once I got into the story and I understood what was being said, it's so good and it hits so freaking hard. And we have another kind of strong, chill, deep cut that I didn't enjoy quite as much, titled Once Upon Your Dead Body, mostly because I find like the second verse and the chorus to be very underwhelming. In this song, there is no big moment and lyrically it just doesn't really hit as hard. The second chorus is just mostly a buildup that goes into the final chorus, and I don't know, this song to me, it's overlooked by me, but the more I've like read the stories and I've listened to this album, it just doesn't really stand out even still. Then we have one of the most romantic songs ever written with Wake Up. It's a really beautiful acoustic piece. I feel like the gentle vocals are fantastic. The mix on it is so beautiful. It does have some really sinister intentions though, as it's about Ryder trying to find a way to keep Erica in his life and keep them together, even though she wants to leave. It's just, it's a very toxic relationship, and he's having some very bad ideas about how to make things go out his way, the way he wants them to be. I don't know. He doesn't want her to leave, but he wants to kill her. I don't know. It's very strange. He's clearly losing his mind and being manipulated by this bicycle. And then they pick up the pace a little bit with the next song, which is absolutely brilliant. The Suffering, which is another one of their most well-known songs. And at this point, Erica is deciding that she's absolutely leaving him, especially after Ryder is clearly confusing her for Ambelina and calling her Ambelina, even at times during sex, which is pretty weird. And the lyrics are basically just a dialogue between both of the characters. And again, it sounds very playful, very joyful, but it's pretty dark. The bouncy riff in the verse is fantastic, as are the vocals in the lyrics, which are kind of all over the place, but at the same time, they have hooks all over that just get stuck in your head. The first pre-chorus goes straight into verse 2. It gives you just a taste of how good the chorus is going to be, and it keeps you in suspense. Then it hits you like a ton of bricks. The chorus comes in, and it's so epic, and then it's followed by another pre-chorus to keep the energy going, and then a final chorus at the end, and it's one of the best moments in this entire album, at least in my eyes. And it comes in about halfway, which is a really good section for it. And then they bring the energy and the mood back down quite a bit with the song The Lying Lies and Dirty Secrets of Miss Erica Court. It gets a palm muted riff as Ryder is going into the story to kill Ambelina, and he's acknowledging that all these people are just completely made up, and he's wondering if he's actually killing off Erica in real life at the same time. Musically, the song is just okay. It has a little bit more of a storytelling aspect to it than anything else, which I do enjoy. And then we have the song Mother May I, which follows the same kind of musical style, but they use the same trick of holding back the chorus that they did in The Suffering. It's not quite as epic, but it still is very satisfying. It hits pretty hard. And this one is about Ryder imagining if him and Erica had kids. Next, we have The Willingwell 1, which is a 4-part series titled Fuel for the Feeding. Claudio is about to defeat the main villain, Willem Ryan, and the story is just becoming really epic at this point. But then he comes face to face with Ryder, who is very mad at Claudio for not following the script and just kind of doing whatever he wants, I guess. This song has a really funky bass line in the verse, and the lead guitar ends up joining in the chorus. The drums have their shining moments, but really the song picks up around the post-chorus, I would say, with a very interesting vocal performance. After an interlude, it ends up changing, and it becomes a little bit more punk, and the bridge adds a little bit of attention before it goes into a second bridge. This is probably the most proggy song on this entire album. It kind of reminds me of The Crowing just a little bit, but it's not quite as epic. It doesn't have as huge of a buildup. And then it goes into part 2, From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. And this song, it has a really bouncy verse to it. The chorus is brutal, and it's about 10 Speed, the bicycle, who is questioning Ryder's resolve on whether or not he really wants to kill Ambelina, because after all, he's already decided to bury Erica. But yeah, like I said, it's very confusing. This one also doesn't really pick up until halfway through, around verse 4. The lead guitar pretty much takes over the rest of the song. And then we have part 3, The Telling Truth, which is a really cool song. It borrows its main riff from Blood Red Summer, from In Keeping Secrets, and it is also the successor to The Writing Writer. The context changes just a little bit, as this is no longer a fantasy story, but the things that Ryder's doing are actually coming true in real life. The bridge changes gears in kind of a weird way. The refrain takes its inspiration from the song Everything Evil, and it combines the two songs. And then that brings us to the closing track, The Final Cut. It has a very sorrowful lead guitar part in the intro, and this one is different. It's no longer really about the Amory Wars and the story, because it's personal. This is about Claudio Sanchez and his wife, who had a falling out, which definitely shows in the story of the comic and also this album. He's singing from the perspective of Ryder to Erica after the fictional character Claudio saves Ambelina, and Ryder is trying to convince him that this universe needs a savior, and it's him. But he doesn't realize that Claudio is the savior of the universe. He's saved everybody, and he is the one. He's doing it all. He doesn't need Ryder, and Ryder just needs to go crazy somewhere else at this point. It also includes a hidden track around 6 minutes and 20 seconds in, which is a tribute to Led Zeppelin. And that's it. That's the end of the story. That's my in-depth review of Good Apollo. Thank you guys so much for listening to this. This is, like I said, it's more of a treat for me to really dive into these albums and explore them and flesh them out as much as I can and really take in everything that I enjoy about them. And I hope that you guys enjoy getting to learn more about them. If you have any more insights into the story, leave a comment below letting me know, or if I messed up on something somewhere along the way, which I'm sure I probably did. And if it's something you're interested in, definitely check out my other reviews, because I feel like those other albums follow the story a little bit more closely, and just the stories in general in them, they're just a little bit better in my opinion, even though people consider this album to be peak musical, which is all opinion, and I can honestly agree with them, because there's some fantastic killer songs in this record. And if you just are piqued just by the musical aspect of it, I highly suggest you check it out, because it is fantastic. And also let me know what you want me to review next. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. And I just thank you guys so much for a terrific year. I thank you guys so much for joining me for 2025. Like I said before, I'm planning on doing a lot more reviews. We're going to get the ball rolling here once more music starts to come out later, throughout the year. January is kind of a slow month, so we'll see how it goes. But either way, just thank you guys so much. I hope you have a good rest of your day or night whenever you have me watching this, and I will talk to you guys next time.